Good morning, everyone. I always like to leave room and space for us to stay in the feeling, because when we feel emotions, we're so quick to run away from them and not stay in the stillness and allow us to process what we need to get from that. And that was such a beautiful way. Imagine if we started every single day that way when we walked into the world. How our days would change and how it would look and how our perspective would shift about ourselves and how we see one another. Thank you so much to the Lacerte family for inviting me here today to hold space and to guide the energy of today. So first, I would like to start, of course, by acknowledging with respect the Lekwungen peoples of whose unceded traditional territory we are on today. The Songhees, Esquimalt nations, whose relationships with these lands and waters shape their political thought, governance, and self-determining authority that should inform how we all relate in this place. I would also like to acknowledge all the chiefs, elders, and elected officials who are watching today, as well as everyone else joining us from coast to coast to coast. We are so grateful to have you watching with us. Tansena wahku maganak, madlenenis nikasan, sukaskiskuentitihkawin, sakatuwakutse niya. So I just said, hello, my family and friends. My name is Madeline. My traditional name, my spirit name is Strong Earth Woman. And I come from a Métis community, a settlement in northern Saskatchewan called Isle La Crosse. But my family also comes from Kinno Lake Cree First Nation, which is about 45 minutes. I'm really, really grateful, really moved, really honored, really emotional to be here. As a young Indigenous woman, I'm 40. Still young. I'm so honored to be asked to do this, because for our young Indigenous women, this is what we're here for. To let them know that they are powerful beyond measure, that they matter, that we matter enough to stand on stages like this and to be the energy guiders of the day, to be the one. This is how it's going back to the women. The ceremonies that were passed to the men, it's going back to the women as the decision makers, and the men stand in the front and they listen and they take guidance from the women, the Esquilwak in Cree, to come from the fire. So I'm really grateful and honored to be able to do this. I get nervous, I get excited. I flew over on HeliJet this morning. I was like a little kid. They took me by myself. They were like, it's okay, we'll take you, we'll hold your hand. We'll give you a window seat. Do you want some candy? I was like, thank you. The braces keep me young too, so I was grateful for that experience this morning. So this morning, we're going to start off in a good way, the way that we always do as Indigenous people. We'll start with our opening protocols. Kwangin knowledge holder Yakwelupton, Bradley Dick, to the stage to do the opening protocol. Please welcome.
So, Ais Quecho CMC Nishwalakwa. Ais Quecho CMC Nishchalacha. Ais Ka CMTS Quecho Niquilia. Ais Ka na Lakwangan, Ochtelnach, na I Ima Tanuch, na I Ima Chasa. Ais Ka CM na Sochwen. Na Chuck CM, na Plenary CM, Tiasquecho, Heitzka CM to Imat, na Lana, na Slan Plenary. So good day, my family, and good day, my friends. I thank each of you for being here today, for being present within this space. I also thank our Place to Smoke Herring family and community, known as Songhees and Esquimalt nations today as well. I was taught growing up that we're always Lekwungen first. That was our name that we walked with as a community prior to contact. And Songhees and Esquimalt came second in terms of our teachings. As Lekwungen, I always knew my Squamitzal, Kosapsan, Wyoming, Schwenghwang family members to be my relatives, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles. And that connection, of course, for us is close. And so affirming who we are to these beautiful lands and to these sacred waters of our community as well. We're a nation that hosted many other nations historically for thousands of years. Some of our family passed through our community. So Asa Yahuelaptin, Asa Kwakwakhala, and Asa Namgam Guayam Tamutlis. I am fortunate and privileged perhaps too to walk with some what we refer to as Nehenet. Nehenet in our language, and it means mind to protect. And my father's side, it's Yahuelaptin, from our Huchatlip or Sartlip family connections, my grandmother Lila Paul. And I've been blessed to walk with one of our chiefs and relatives within our family, Chief Wedlady Speck. He's over the years come like an older brother to me and immense mentor in my life. And he's given me some responsibilities of walking with a couple of names in our Bakwang community as well, our Kwakwakiwak community. And one is Kwakwakhala, and it refers to bringing people together like a chain. And then from his Aiksin Comox roots, I received the name just over a year ago, Namgam Guayam Tamutlis, which means, because I had lots of aunties and uncles out there. And a part of our teachings, my Uncle Skip Lachichalak took me to Goldstream, and we spent a day out there. And he spoke to me about how I walk in this world reflects on my family. And it was a simple teaching that stayed with me for the rest of my walk to this point, is that I often will find myself reflecting on how I show up, how I show up in the lives of my family, community, and relatives, whether it be in my home territory or when I walk graciously on other family and communities' territories. And that's why these welcomes are so powerful, because it calls us into this space not only to recognize and to acknowledge each other, but it also asks our ancestors to watch over us and those supernatural ones to be in this space with us. Because they're the ones that are going to remind us in how we walk in this world and how we look after one another. So of course, with extended hands of gratitude, I welcome our Moosehide family to our territories. And of course, I welcome our chiefs, our matriarchs, our hereditary leaders that are here with us as well. And of course, the beautiful young ones that are in this space with us. Because after all, that's who we're doing this work for. And to our family and to our community that are joining us virtually. Apparently there's like maybe a couple 100,000 people tuning in. Wow. So cool. So I can't see you all, but I'm waving. And I'm asking and encouraging perhaps for a moment for yourself to acknowledge the lands, the community that you call home, and reflect on your relationship to that space. So I thank our Moosehide family for the opportunity to open us in a good way. I thank them for always acknowledging the protocols of the local Lekwungen territory. It really means a lot to us that we follow the teachings of the lands that we're on. As not only is it medicine for myself, but it's medicine for our Lekwungen community and our ancestors, because they're witnessing something familiar, something that they've always seen in our communities. And so this opportunity I relish at any time that my Moosehide family calls me to support and walk with them. It's actually a humble honor to do this. They're doing the hard work, and they just know that I like to talk. And so with that, I extend my gratitude to our Moosehide family, to each of you, as we come together today. Please look after yourselves throughout the day. So, Aitzkasiam.
I was like, what's happening? Thank you. So thank you so much for opening in that beautiful way and sharing all of the teachings that you did this morning. I think it's really important for us to know that this room is even fuller than we know, right? We all brought our ancestors with us to fill up this space. So sometimes we look at the physical world and we think there's not enough, but the ancestors are all with us. So it's so full in here, the medicine and the healing that's happening with those ancestors. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're not going too far. So the Moosehide Campaign family have also asked Yakwalupton to support the day and ceremony with a witnessing ceremony. So we will ask the Moosehide Campaign family to come forward so that they can do this very, very important work that we're going to start the day with. So please welcome the Moosehide Campaign family.
Do I need a mic in this space, or you can hear me? This magical talking stick is working good? I'm glad you didn't catch the whispering that I was doing earlier there. I was talking about how this is holding my brains together. So, haitska siem sieya nishwalakwa. Haitska siem sieya nishtalacha. So just on behalf of our Moose Hide family, as I mentioned earlier, they walk mindfully in the territory of the Lekwungen and follow our protocols. And years ago, we had a beautiful conversation on what that would look like. Years ago, as families and community, we came together to talk about, what it means to call in those ancestors in the protocol that we do. That we follow the teachings that have been passed down from generation to generation. And one of those is when you call family and community into ceremony, you hire someone to speak on your behalf. And the reason that we do so as community is that it allows our family, our Moose Hide family, to walk at the same pace, but to be at the same level as the community that they've invited to be with them as well. It's such a beautiful teaching. Because if the family were to do all the speaking themselves about the great work that they're doing, it could potentially reflect as ego. And so that's why we had that teaching in place, is so that there wasn't any misinterpretation, but it's also the humility that the work that they do, not only does it speak for itself, but they hire someone to do that for them. In our Lekwungen ways, we have what we refer to as hiawak. Hiawak, and that's the speaker and the individual that they hire. Families that call upon that work to be done usually have someone specifically that they hired to do that work. And that there's usually family that understand and know the connections and the relationships that they have, so that if anything comes up throughout the day, that the hiawak can call upon the family to pause and to do the work that's required at times. And so it's such an honor to do so for the family. It's an honor to watch that humility and that letting go to allow others to take on roles for them as well. And that's how we lift each other up as well. We have a beautiful teaching in our Lekwungen ways and in ceremony, and it's called Kwalung. Kwalung. And it's an imaginary hook that hangs outside of our ceremonial house. And on that hook, we're encouraged to hang our ego and our personal political aspirations on that hook. And then to walk into ceremony. And the hope is through the beautiful work that the family does, but how we come together in ceremony and our virtual family come together in ceremony. The hope is that as we leave, the medicine that we've received through the work, we don't need that stuff on that hook anymore. We can walk without those things. It's taken me up until today, when my uncle shared that teaching of Kwalung with me, to realize that Kualung isn't just in our ceremonial houses, but it's in our everyday walk and how we let go of that ego. And I share this because the family has created a space through the morning to open in ceremony. And before everyone got here, did some medicine work. You know, the space was empty, what we call stjatchel. So there was space between us before we came in. And the hope is throughout the day, it becomes squamalis, filled with the gifts of our ancestors into this space. And that each of you carry those gifts that we offer into this space. And that's how we look after each other and recognize each other as equals. So I want to start by acknowledging our family. I look forward to this every year because I've seen the growth, I've seen the love, and I've seen the compassion and tenacity that it requires to bring so many family and community together, not only here but virtually. And to do this work in a good way, to call upon witnesses. And it's not to say that you're not all witnesses, but the family wants to formalize that work as well. And we call upon witnesses to observe the work of the family. And the hope is that those witnesses take what they've seen back home and share it with their family, their community, and speak to the work that the family had done. And at the end of the day, we will offer opportunity for those witnesses to speak in what they've experienced throughout the day, what they've seen. And it's that opportunity to reaffirm not only the work that the family has done, but also to offer in their own teachings into how the work has been done too. And the beauty of our witnessing processes, and again, something that's incredibly humbling, is that if there's anything that gets called into dispute around the work that the family has done, the family will call upon those witnesses, and myself perhaps, to speak on their behalf. Again, to ensure that they're not walking with ego in their response. Our ancestors were magical to know this process, to create it in the shape of not only culture but governance. And so, again, I'm babbling. I hope in a good way. We'd like to start our process of calling the witnesses. And I understand we have some virtual family that will be joining us as witnesses, and then some family here that will be acknowledged as witnesses. We got this cool hybrid indigenized process going on. So Julia Lush, Lalengan Sweltot Squaltium. Julia Lush, you've been asked to be a witness for the day. And as I shared earlier, you may be called upon to share a few words. And so we raise our hands to Julia for the opportunity to take on that role, and that we express our gratitude for committing to the day virtually with us. So, Heights Kasiyam Julia Lush. We're waving. I don't want to get this name. How do you pronounce it? Rusin, Dan Rusin. Thank you. And Diane Rusin, Lalangan Squelchet Squelchiem. Oh, yeah. Wilbert Papik, Lalangan Squelchet Squelchiem. You've been asked to be a witness today. Aitzkasiam. Shelley Joseph, Lalangan Squelchet Squelchiem. You've been asked to be a witness today. Aitzkasiam Siea, Nishwalakwa, Na Moosehide, Aitzkasiam, No Delna. So just want to thank our Moosehide family again for acknowledging the protocols and teachings of our community in the witnessing process. And to our witnesses that have stepped forward, just raise my hands to each of you as well, and to Julie joining us virtually, and to all our family joining us virtually. As I shared earlier, we're all witnesses throughout the day in how we come together. And as we acknowledge the work the family will do throughout the day, they have a number of ways to bring us in, to share commonality, to share compassion in how we move forward, and to how we lift each other up so that we can keep moving forward, or to hold us in those moments of pause as well. And so let's look after each other today. Thank our family for bringing us together in ceremony. And I hope that the day fills your spirit and your heart in the work that will be done. So, Ais Kasiyam.
Thank you so much for that beautiful work, Yakwalaptin, for your welcome and for leading us through this important ceremony to start our day in such a good way. How is everybody feeling? You're feeling good? You're feeling calm? We created that peaceful, zenful energy. So now we're going to do some jigging. Just kidding. I was trying to wake up the room a little bit. Who got scared? That guy's running. Look, he's leaving. So as Bradley mentioned, we will be hearing from the witnesses during a fast-breaking ceremony this evening taking place at 5:15 Pacific time. So we hope that you all can join us for that important part of the day. We would also like to thank Elder Judy Clark, Singing Thunderbird Women and White Eagle Women, and our relatives on the east. So we want to take a moment to thank the many elders and supporters who have helped ensure that we do this work in a good way, because it takes all of us, even the children, who bring the joy and the happiness, right, in those kind of heavy moments. That one is going to be a little leader. That's going to be your MC. Probably in 2 years, I guaranteed it's going to happen. So we know that there are many Moose Hide campaign events happening across the country today, and we're also grateful to all the community champions who have organized these events and supported the work of the campaign. Today, know that while we are not all together in person, we are all connected virtually. We are even connected spiritually throughout the day. Close to 500,000 Canadians are taking part in the Moose Hide campaign events today. 500,000! I want to acknowledge that many of you are fasting, which is a very important ceremony. So from across the country, throughout Turtle Island and beyond, that is a very, very, very important sacrifice that you're doing. So the family, the Moose Hide family, are very grateful for that personal sacrifice that you're doing today in ceremony to fast. I know that today is a challenging day for a lot of us and our families. So please show some compassion for one another, for others beside you. Feel pride in yourself and your family for undertaking this difficult journey with us today. Make some friends. Sometimes the hardest thing is to say, I love you. In the Cree language, kasayitin means my energy is at a place where it meets you. So if you want to borrow that word and use that word, use that. Support one another through this day. I'm feeling so emotional in this witnessing. So who's going to hug me? I pick you. So for those of you joining us virtually, I want to assure each of you that we have worked to create a safe and supportive environment for today. Should you need additional support or resources, we encourage you to visit the Wellness Center on the event page, which has resources and health supports, as well as videos for those fasting, elders' teachings, and lots of other helpful information. The event website can be found at events.moosehidecampaign.ca. To our virtual audience, After this morning's plenary, you'll have a short wellness break until 10:15 Pacific time. At that point, we invite you to attend the live interactive workshops. They will last 1.5 hours and are open to anyone who wants to join. Workshop registration is still open, so if you want to go sign up, that's on the event page. Once the workshops end at 11:45 PST, Pacific Standard Time, we invite you to prepare for the Walk to End Violence, which will be streaming the program on the event site. Then you'll have a break until 5:15. Is everybody with me? We're still, you understand? Okay, awesome. I'm like, I lost myself. Then you'll have a break at 5:15, during which time you are invited to join our impact measurement team in a Zoom room focus group to share about your experience throughout the day, as well as visit our virtual photo booth to document your participation in a fun way. So to keep it interactive, right? To keep it interactive throughout the day. We will gather again for the fast breaking ceremony and calling of witnesses at 5:15 Pacific Standard Time. For those of you on the east of BC who are fasting and want to break your fast at sundown where you are, you can view our pre-recorded fast breaking ceremony video in the Fasters Fire section of the event website. The live stream and workshop portions of the day that are taking place virtually, we ask that you bear with us in case we have any technical difficulties, which can happen. There's lots of energies and spirits in here, right, which messes with technology. I always blame it on them. But also, it's not my, not knowing how to use it. It's always the spirits. But also know that there has been lots of work and support to make this as technically smooth as possible. We also have an amazing tech crew over there. Let's give it up for that tech crew. That means you have to do a dance. Oh, he was getting up. For those of you who are joining us in person, we want to assure that we have worked hard to create a safe and supportive environment for you today. We have cultural support workers from Selton Laleham outside of Carson Hall, here in the Langford and Machosen rooms. They'll be offering smudging, cedar, spruce, hemlock brushing, and eagle fan brushings. We also have counselors sitting at the back of the room, so if you're looking for added support, please, please, Marianne and Eve, if you're here, could you put your hands up? Oh, right there, those two right there. So you can go to them, and then I believe the smudging and the fan is happening over there, outside, that way. Someone will guide you, find someone from the team, and they will help you. Done. We will have a quick wellness break before transitioning into those beautiful sharing circles that are in that other room over there, followed by the noon hour walk to end violence, finally. For those of you who are active on social media, everyone has their cell phones here today, right? We would love to see your photos on how you're taking part today and every day to end violence against women and children. So please share that. Hashtag it. We encourage you to wear and share the moose hide pin and message on your accounts today and use hashtag Moose Hide Campaign Day and hashtag Fast to End Violence in your posts. So again, hashtag Moose Hide Campaign Day and hashtag Fast to End Violence in your posts. To help, you can jump onto the virtual photo booth this year. A QR code should be appearing on the screen now. And now, it's coming. Tech team, I give you a big shout. It's over there? Oh, no, later, okay. I thought they were dancing or something. So as the photo booth populates more of your photos, it'll create a live mosaic as a beautiful visual that brings us all together. They gave me 2 minutes to say all of that. Woo! So I hope that what you shared and what you witnessed this morning has helped you this morning to calm, to bring that peace. I know it's a very hard day. I'm very grateful to see all of you today, and I want you to know that you are powerful beyond measure. We're going to go into our first speaker this morning. We are very grateful to have Brandi Morin provide an opening keynote address. Brandi Morin is an award-winning Cree, Iroquois, French multimedia journalist from Treaty 6 territory in Alberta. For the last 10 years, Brandi has specialized in sharing Indigenous stories. She is known for her clear-eyed and empathetic reporting on Indigenous oppression in North America. She is also a survivor of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls crisis and uses her experience to tell the stories of those who did not survive the rampant violence. Brandi's debut memoir, Our Voice of Fire, a memoir of a warrior rising, became a national bestseller within days of its August 2nd, 2022 release. Please give a warm welcome to Brandi.
Tansei, hello, bonjour. Thank you so much for that introduction. It's stunning to be here. When the Moose Hide campaign asked me to give this keynote address, I was overwhelmed. What they have done has just spread across our nation and around the world. And it's powerful and it's beautiful. So I want to say hi to the Lacerte family and the Moose Hide family. The welcome that they gave me and my daughters, who I was privileged to bring with me, was incredible. So it's an honor to be here. I'm coming to you from the lands of my ancestors in Treaty 6 territories. And I'm happy to see all of you here. And Tansei, hello to everybody virtually. I almost didn't make it here today. I made it out alive, though. There are thousands of us who aren't here because maybe like me, they grew up in a chaotic home. You see, from the time I was 6 or 7 years old, my mother, who was a child of a residential school survivor, my beloved Cookham, had lived through so much trauma herself and was dealing with my father, who was an alcoholic who would come and go. And there was just constant fighting and yelling and violence and abuses of all kinds. I had 3 other siblings, and I was kind of middle. I'm the second oldest. And I was always expressive, and I began to act out within these environments. And my mom was very overwhelmed. So she decided to try placing me into different homes. This led into me living in and out of the child welfare system until I was 18. I was a lost, lonely little girl. Over half of our missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls have been in the child welfare system. By the time I was 12, I had graduated into the group home system. So that's where they send the troubled kids that really don't fit well into the foster care system. And I had moved to the big city. See, I grew up outside of the city in a rural area, and they placed me into the city. That's a very vulnerable place for a young child to be. I was impressionable. I was, hungry to make connection at that time and to fit in, as were many of us lost in that environment. One evening in the dead of winter, me and a couple of other girls that were in the group home, Shannon and Rose, they were older than me. We were outside on a cigarette break, and Shannon said, "Let's take off. Let's go, find some booze." And it sounded like a really great idea. Tom, say hi. What are those guys up to? Those So they suggested we take off, and it sounded like a really great idea. I wanted to escape these 4 cold and concrete walls, and rules and regulations, and the staff that were basically just paid to be there to take care of us. So we decided to run, and we took off galloping into the night. I was so excited. That fresh air hitting my skin in the cold, it was exhilarating. And they took me to this place downtown Edmonton, and I remember arriving there after we had ran for about 20 minutes straight. And we came, and I seen the magnificent the McDonald Hotel. This is the fanciest hotel in Edmonton. I knew even at that age that that's where the celebrities went, and there was always limousines parked out front and connoisseurs, and I'm like, wow, we're really going to a party. This is fancy. I was really excited. They knew where we were going, but I didn't. They ended up taking me to an apartment right next to the Hotel McDonald. And we walked in, and there was a couple of strange older men there. Shannon knew these men, and they offered us cigarettes. I kept wondering, where's this party? What's going to happen? The men ended up taking me and raping me and holding me against my will over the course of a week. I remember being in such shock and trauma. I was a 12-year-old girl. I remember praying. Prayer is so powerful. I remember praying to escape. And somehow those prayers were answered. I was able to escape and go to the comfort of my Cookum's house. My Cookum, another survivor. My Cookum, a survivor of the genocide that our people have endured. I went on and ended up becoming a single mother by the time I was 24, of 3 different children from 3 different fathers. You see, I was trying to transverse through life with all of this unresolved trauma and rage. And I would go back and forth between partying and trying to find solace and comfort in booze and partying, and then go back to trying to chase a dream, trying to chase a goal of something better in life for me and my children. In my late 20s, I was doing some soul searching, and I said another prayer about what I was to do with my life. And I received the answer through journalism. You see, I was just a young girl from Treaty 6, and I got offered my first job at 29 years old as a full-time staff reporter at the Stony Plain Reporter Spruce Grove Examiner, because they saw how eager I was. I was given that opportunity, and from there, doors began opening, and I began to realize that there had been this shift. You see, I'd been filled with this rage, this fire, this rage from the traumas of my childhood and the rape for so many years. But that rage started to transform into, I first started telling exclusively Indigenous stories. I seen the way that our people were being covered. I seen how that impacted the rampant violence that our people and our women and girls were experiencing, and I wanted to do something about it. I wanted to ask everybody to consider, how do you use your power? We all have power. We have power and influence in our communities, in the circles that we run in our families, and we even have power through everything that we have survived through. How do you use your power? How do you speak? How do you listen? How do you protect? How do you defend? How do you honor the people? Sickness of hatred infiltrated our societies here across Turtle Island. We need to rise as a collective. We need to rise as a collective now, because lives are on the line. I often think of so many of the stories of the women that I have covered and the graves that I have stood at, the mothers that I have held and hugged if they've cried for their lost daughters. I think of young ones like Tina Fontaine, who was near my age when she was pulled, wrapped in a duvet from the Red River in Winnipeg in 2014. And I think, who would she be today? We are missing an army of our matriarchs right now. But we, thanks to the Moose Hide campaign and the work of so many others, it is being built up again. And we need our warriors to stand by us. How will you use your power? I know my place in the world, and I am here to help usher in justice via the way of storytelling, to help bring justice to our people, to our women and girls. And I want to tell you a little story, because this is dark and this is heavy. We have to face it. We have to face it like it is. But there's hope. I'm living proof there's hope. Just a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to experience a beautiful ceremony down the territories at the Rosebud Suit in pairing formerly abused horses with offenders, troubled youth, or people that were overcoming trauma. And now my friend had set this up for me, my photographer friend who was there with me, because I said I'd love to go, horseback riding in Lakota territories. So I thought we were just going there and we were going to jump on a horse and let's go, right? So we get there, and Greg Cloud, he was our guide, and he oversaw the program that they run. He said, "So Brandi, do you want to do a spirit connecting ceremony with the horses?" And I said, "Well, sure." And inside I was thinking, this sounds kind of deep, but I'll do it. So he explained to me a little bit about how it was going to work. We went into a round pen. It was kind of like at this building. And he told me to stand in the middle of the pen. He had some medicine burning. And he told me, trust the process. I was a little bit afraid. I didn't know these horses. These weren't my territories. These were powerful animals, even though I had grown up, around horses and loved them. So a couple of ranch hands brought in about 7 horses, and Greg had me stand in the middle. And the ranch hands had them run around me twice in one direction and then twice in the other direction. And I stood there in the middle, and I followed them with my body. And I just remember the sound of their hooves just pounding the earth. I felt small, but I told myself, trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. They stopped and it was silent. Then one of the horses broke loose and started to walk towards me. He was a chestnut color with 4 white marks on his feet. "That's Socks," said Greg, former rodeo horse. He was tied up and abused and hit and starved by his former owners. And previously, Greg had said, the horse will choose you. I felt something tight in my throat. The horse looked up at me and kept coming towards me as Greg spoke. He said, you know, Socks, he's a leader, but he doesn't always know it. But when he gets outside of these fences and he realizes that he's free and boundless, he said, that's a sight to see. And I broke at that moment. I knew and realized that that aligned with me, that he chose me, that I too was a leader, and all that I needed to do was step outside of those boundaries of fear that had still been trying to hold me back for years, to fully step into my power. And that's what I strive to do in the work that I do. And so I ask you, what will you do with your power? Hi, hi.
Thank you, Brandi, for those powerful words. I've seen some emotions in the room from that very truthful recap of her life. And what she came out of that with is that she's powerful beyond measure. It didn't stop her. It may have broken her for moments. But as Indigenous peoples, we have this teaching to come to balance. And it's what we do after those type of things happen. What are the teachings that we carry that help us? I'm so honored to meet you and to listen to you and to learn from you and to be in this space today. Thank you for all the work that you do. It's really important, and you are impacting many, many, many lives, and even mine. Powerful beyond measure. Thank you. Hi, hi. We're going to continue. We are now honored to welcome Chief Dr. Robert Joseph to the stage to share some remarks. Chief Joseph is currently the Ambassador for Reconciliation Canada and a former member of the National Assembly of First Nations Elders Council. He was formerly the Executive Director of the Indian Residential School Survivors Society and is an honorary witness to Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission. As Chairman of the Native American Leadership Alliance for Peace and Reconciliation and Ambassador for Peace and Reconciliation with the Interreligious and International Federation for World Peace, Chief Joseph has sat with the leaders of South Africa, Israel, Japan, South Korea, Mongolia, and Washington, D.C., to learn from and share his understanding of faith, hope, healing, and reconciliation. Please welcome Chief Dr. Robert Joseph and his family to the stage. Testing. Oh, it works.
I arrived here, this is not my speech yet, so I'm just saying this. I arrived here yesterday, and we gathered at the Wawaditla Mungo Martin Big House downtown. And I was so moved by that gathering already. My heart was full. My spirit was soaring. That we were invited to be a part of this grand glorious process. I want to tell the audience online, so many of you Canadians out there, I wish you could be here with those of us who are here in this room. Because for some reason, we feel it when we're together. And virtual doesn't quite do the same thing. And we arrived here in this center this morning, and it just felt good. A lot of our lives never felt the way we've been feeling in these days that we're in now. So much change has gone on. I kind of stand in my own shadow now. I'm 83 years old, and I've seen the span of the change. I've seen the monumental moments of shift of minds. And I'm talking now about the place of Indigenous people in our society. I have not seen so much change as I have in all those years that I see in this time. And it makes me feel even more hopeful, even if it's a long way to go. Every step is important. Every incremental movement forward is important. I'm deeply appreciative of our gathering today. That we're invited here by some really grand people, a grand family, grand associates of this movement called Moosehide Campaign. I remember coming here in the late 60s. I was a young man. And we didn't have any dreams, we didn't have any hope, we didn't have a vision about what might take place, and we were not yet empowered. But I see in this room that we are empowered of every difference. I want to thank Moosehide Campaign for inviting me to be here. When you get as old as I, things begin to stream by you, and you see the energy promise for this country that young people are taking over. Het wachtmiddag is ooit immers meken zien als va kwik massa lachens kayulas, lachens quickstem, lachens yakendas. And so that all Canadians understand, as Indigenous people begin to struggle forward, that it's important for us and important for Canadians to know that we have to look back to our languages and our cultures and our history, our Genesis stories. All of it is there for us to rejuvenate and regenerate the spirit of indigeneity. When we get there, when we start moving forward in that direction, all of you who are non-Indigenous are going to learn so much. We're going to save this planet together. And I think about the lives that we're thinking about this morning, of people young and old, of all genders, living in fear, not wanting to be terrorized by abuse or neglect or any of those things that are horrific, not wanting to continue to operate in a vacuum of trauma because of all the impacts of colonization against us. And I look at you and I see the sea of faces. I wish I could see the 200,000 across the country who share what you share. An idea that you can love yourself fiercely, love each other, and hold each other up and celebrate each other in all of your diversity. That's what we're growing here. And helping people liberate themselves from the idea of terror and trauma. So I'm going to start my speech now. Kila kestawa nasmut. I say greetings again, all my relatives. Namuyut. We are all one. Many years ago I was in Mongolia and we were at this big public banquet, big public event. And they asked me to say a few words. And I don't know this for sure, but I believe that Indigenous people, wherever they are across the globe, have this sense of common humanity among themselves, that they're interconnected, share some values, but very definitely common humanity. So I just started my speech and I said, brothers and sisters, and everybody in the room jumped up and clapped. And so we didn't acknowledge lands. I try to do the best I can, and sometimes I don't quite get enough information on the Google to do the absolute right acknowledgement. So I want to, and forgive me if this ain't perfect, acknowledge the Asungis and the Esquimalt First Nations. They're so generous. Imagine when the newcomers came and they set up their colonial governments right in the heart of their territory. And yet they still want to reconcile. They still want to work together. I want to acknowledge the Moosehide campaign. There are so many people out there benefiting from this campaign. Women, girls, children. I just can't describe the depth of my gratitude for the Moosehide campaign. Of course, I want to acknowledge all of you for being present. You're beautiful. And I think all of you are strong, resilient, have hope, willing to stand up and speak out, wanting the same peace for others that you have for yourself. When you find these virtues for yourself, the sense of belonging, balance, harmony, share that message with all others. We really need to begin to move forward in that way as the human race. The Moosehide campaign has achieved inspirational heights in its effort to educate people on the horrific legacy of violence against women and girls. It has pinpointed the horrific crippling and debilitating impacts and consequences of that violence. Most importantly, it has triggered an awareness and dialogue about the issue. Action is beginning to manifest across this country. If we could see all those people online. Dialogue and action actually saves lives, actually grows hope. We've heard that word this morning. Reduces trauma, mitigates trauma. Contributes to the healing of individuals, families, and communities. Women and girls are safe. That line aren't on the line. You're all important because this work starts with you. It always seems to start with you. It's like love. If you can't love yourself, how are you going to love others? So it's a sacred duty to be involved in this movement. We need you, we need all of us. And like I said, on a very personal level, it begins with you. Tonight, when you go home, think about that. And think about how you might create some kind of action on the individual level to begin to foster and grow this idea that there is no room for violence in our lives, especially with our women and girls. Violence against women is insidious. It hides like a monster lurking in the night. It can strike with uncontrollable rage. It's evil. It does not acknowledge that women and girls are sacred. I want all of us to acknowledge that. Work on that every day. To acknowledge that women and girls are sacred. And if you do that often enough, you're going to afford the same entitlement to yourselves that you are sacred. That's what we need to do, is to reestablish that, sanction that sanctity of everybody, of every family. Women and girls, they are the very cradle of life. They are life givers. They are nurturers of value and purpose. They personify love unconditional, no conditions. They are our teachers, our mentors. They are our truest role models. Think about those in your own life who may be going through horrific times at this moment. And yet they're so sacred and they're so important in the function of a family and our communities. It is time to restore women and girls to their dignified status and right place in our families and communities. They shouldn't be broken or murdered. Not seen or heard. They should be treated as precious. Do we not yet know that they are victims of violence at home and in our colonized land? Little by little, we lose our women and girls every day. It is our heartbreak when that happens. When women experience heartbreak, it's our heartbreak as well. It is our pain when they experience pain. We become powerless when they become powerless. We must stop the cycle of violence now. We must stop the endless trauma handed down from generation to generation. When women and girls are not loved, will this not diminish the love in us? Unless we put a stop to this violence, we will continue to destroy ourselves and our families. So where do we start? Where do we start? Where do you start? We start by acknowledging the problem. Just as we've been told by our conveners, these wonderful people. We start by educating each other, just as we've been instructed to do. We start by taking responsibility. We do this by action. Know these things, that women and girls are precious. They are love personified. They must be honored and revered as leaders. They are our cornerstone and foundation of who we all are. Without them, who will keep the families together? Who will build our relationships? We must break the silence about the lived experience of women and girls. We must talk about these experiences to seek collective healing. All of us need to be a part of this process. And then we can empower women and girls to speak their truths. We must even support the abusers to seek healing so that they never do that again, that they're accountable for their horror. When we do this, we can break the bonds to chronic sadness. You know how sad we get when something like this happens in our own midst, and we feel hopeless and powerless, and we can't do anything about it, and we don't talk about it, and silence prevails. That has to change. The Moosehide campaign calls us to consider all of these. The Moosehide campaign, a grassroots movement growing all the time, for all of us to heal. It starts now. It starts with you. It is a noble and worthy cause. Who wouldn't want to be a part of this process? So as you go home again tonight and you lay your head down, think about all the things you've heard today, but think about all of the work, more importantly, that has been done that is by this beautiful organization. We must restore family balance and harmony, belonging and peace. In short, while we will be marking the 10th anniversary of the Truth and Reconciliation process here in Canada, since then, we've had reports, revelations, dialogue, and transformation, all in its earliest stages. Canadians have engaged with each other like never before. We have been learning a few things. That truth-telling is imperative, that dialogue leads to deeper understanding, that dialogue and deeper understanding leads to transformation and change. So think about this. We should adopt reconciliation as a core value when we face all of our challenging problems. Think about the idea that inclusion and diversity must absolutely be honored, that everybody matters, that everybody belongs, that apologies are important, that action behind words is necessary, and that reconciliation belongs to everyone. What I have learned is that the status quo doesn't work anymore. So we have to be visionary, we have to be brave, we have to be bold, and we do what we need to change, to bring change about. We need new lenses with new perspectives and ideas, that we can see things differently through the lens of reconciliation. If you adopt reconciliation as a core value, learn to develop reconciliation action plans for implementation, especially on this issue too. There isn't anybody in this room that can't do something to alleviate the situation we're confronted with. Violence against women and girls can be such a specific lens. Remember, it starts with you, grow it out. I have a great deal of hope that at some time in the near future, this violence against women and girls is going to diminish and eventually disappear. But it won't happen without all of you and without our leaders leading us. That's all I have to say for now, my relatives.
Thank you so much, Chief Dr. Robert Joseph. Powerful, powerful, powerful words. It starts with us, and each one of us can do something about what we're facing today. Thank you for that. It is now my pleasure to welcome Raven Lacerte and Dominic Paul to share some closing remarks. Raven is the co-founder of the Moose High Campaign, and Dominic is one of our national ambassadors. Please welcome Raven and Dom.
I would like to start by sharing a few words in my Indigenous language. Hadi Dinedza Sekeza, Raven Lacerte Sadni, Loretta Madam Slew, Paul Lacerte Spa, Saigana Injan Yinkak Dine Keo, Tabesna Chalya Injan Lakwangin Keo. What I said in my language was, greetings, my respected relatives. My name is Raven Lacerte. My mom is the late Loretta Madam, and my dad is Paul Lacerte. I'm part of the Bear Clan and a member of the Lake Babine Nation. I am a mama of two very precious little girls, Cedar Sus and Chasyez, who you've heard running around all morning. And thank you to our community of people that are helping to care for them today and every day. I feel so grateful to have a community of people that we can call on to help raise our babies. And Dominic is my fiance. He has been for a while now, so I swear we'll get married eventually. I gratefully acknowledge that we are joining you today from the traditional territory of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples territories, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations. And I want to thank our amazing relative, Bradley Dick, for the beautiful welcome. I am the co-founder of the Moosehide Campaign together with my dad, and I am incredibly honored to be with you today. As many of you know, the Moosehide Campaign started from a hunting trip along the Highway of Tears, which runs through Carrier territory. And over the past 12 years, that idea has turned so powerful. I want to acknowledge those who are fasting today. I want to raise my hands to you and thank you. Thank you for taking this courageous step. Thank you for your sacrifice. Fasting is a warrior practice. To those that have fasted for many years now, masicho. And to those who are fasting for the first time, masicho. And to all of those who are taking a stand against violence today in your own powerful way, thank you, masicho. Our vision is for 1 million Canadians to fast together on the same day for the purpose of ending violence against women. Food or water for one day, together with 1 million other Canadians, to stand against violence towards women and children. That is nation building that will last for generations. Today, there are over 500,000 people joining us from across Canada, and thousands of you are fasting. To date, we have distributed over 4 million moosehide pins to people across Canada. 4 million. But what does that mean? I've been asking myself that question. And I believe it means that women and children are safer in this country and that they are experiencing less violence. It means that less women will be murdered and that less women will go missing. It means that more men and boys will heal and do less violence. It means that we have already started over 20 million conversations about ending violence against women and children in this country. And it means that people in communities across Canada are organizing and taking action to protect the women and children in their lives and in their communities. And I know that it means a lot to women who are experiencing violence and women that are fleeing violence. Many of them have shared with me that it is healing to see more men and boys standing up against violence. And that is creating hope to see more men stand in spirit of love and accountability. Fasting and ceremony are an important part of our theory of change. Violence against women and children is a complicated issue, and it's important that the efforts of the Moosehide Campaign are as effective and impactful as possible in getting us to our desired future state. A future where women and children are free of violence and treated with love and respect at all times. So the Moosehide Campaign team has been reflecting on that question. How can we have the greatest impact possible in ending violence against women and children? And so I want to invite each of you to reflect on that question as well. Have that conversation with your family, in your schools. Make a plan and take action. I will be focusing more on impact measurement and leading our impact measurement work at the Moosehide Campaign. And will continue to serve as the co-founder and lead spokesperson. So what will your action be? What is the greatest impact you can have on this issue? And before I pass over to my partner Dominic to share a few words, I just want to thank you, each and every one of you, for being part of this important movement. I love you all very much. I'm honored to stand in solidarity with you. And I want to offer a chance for us to do love eyes. So it's a practice that my dad really brings into these spaces where we practice that staring at each other lovingly. And we have a word, Nyan Spe Hunzu. And that means that when I look at you, you're so beautiful to me that when I look at you, my heart leaps up inside of me. And so I invite you all to practice saying that word, Nyan Spe Hunzu. One more time. Nyan Spe Hunzu. Okay, so now I ask that you please turn to some people that are around you and give them as much love as you possibly can. So I appreciate you taking time. I appreciate you taking time to do that and offer that medicine today as we're in ceremony. That love eyes, Nyan Spe Hunzu. Masi Cho, thank you so much. I'll pass it to them.
Ait Squeachel Siam, Asa Salt Sultan, Asa Dominic Paul, Chislay Sanach Husaitnich, Iason Kunasesha. In my Sinchothan language, I said, my name is Salt Sultan. My English name is Dominic Paul. I'm from the Husaitnich territory here on southern Vancouver Island. And I'm happy to be here. I want to acknowledge the territory of the Songhees and Esquimalt nations for having us and for sharing their territory. Haichka. I'm honored to speak today and to share the stage with Raven and her dad. I'm grateful to be part of an organization that practices mentorship and that role models intergenerational leadership development. Haichka. When Raven and her dad started the Moosehide campaign, it was to keep Raven and her sisters safe and to end violence towards women and children. Now that I'm taking on a leadership role in the campaign as a spokesperson together with Raven, I'm standing here as a father who wants to keep my daughter safe. But in order to do that, we need to make our whole country safe for all women and children. I've been responsible for the production and distribution of the Moosehide pins, so I get to work with the incredible Indigenous women and their families who make the Moosehide pins. And I ship them out to all of you amazing people. I have also had the privilege and honor of reading each of your comments on the pin order form. We are so grateful to you for letting us know why the pins and the Moosehide campaign is important to you, and for letting us know how it impacts you, your friends, your families, your community, your school, or your organizations. Like Raven said, we are receiving a lot of stories and qualitative evidence that the Moosehide campaign is working and that it is having a positive impact on thousands of people across this country. These Moosehide pins are making their way to every corner of our country and are helping to spark those conversations. Each Moosehide pin starts at least 5 conversations about ending violence towards women and children. And these types of conversations are leading to action. We've recently traveled to Ottawa and gifted our 4 millionth Moosehide pin to Senator Michelle Odette. She was one of the commissioners for the National Inquiry into Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women and Girls, and is now a Canadian senator. It took us 6 years to distribute our first 1 million moose hide squares. And it took us a total of 12 years to distribute 4 million moose hide pins. But so far in 2023, since just this past January, we have distributed over 1.5 million moose hide pins. So the campaign is growing. We are creating positive change. And each of you are an important part of that change. Our goal is to gift 10 million squares of moose hide and to have 1 million people fasting on the same day. So we still have a long way to go. So please keep spreading the word. Please wear and share your moose hide pins. You are all part of the Moose Hide campaign. And if we keep working at it, we are all going to achieve our vision of ending violence towards women and children. As a dad and as a husband-to-be, I want to say thank you for joining us today and for being part of the Moose Hide campaign. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Haichka, all my relations.
Thank you so much, Raven and Dom and Paul, for standing with them. For those powerful words in that moment of sharing with us a family that's healing together, and a family that's healing and sharing that love for one another. I'm so emotional. Thank you for that. And thank you to the amazing keynote speakers this morning and the messages that you shared. I know that they are with the people. We're so grateful for your gifts shared across the nation today. As we head into our wellness break, I have a few important notes. I feel so emotional, and now I have to go into the practical stuff. Like, I just want to cry right now. So there's going to be a wellness break. Please don't go anywhere yet. I just have to give a few instructions to the people online. But while you're on your little quick break, we're asking that maybe you go to the virtual photo booth. We'd love to see your photos and how you're taking part today and every day to end violence against women and children. So for those of you here at the Victoria Conference Center, again, so hang tight. For those of you joining us virtually, we want to ensure that you feel safe and supported. So if you need additional support or resources, please, and I encourage you to visit the Wellness Center section of the event website that has resources for health supports. In addition, there are videos in the Fasters Fire section for those fasting, as well as elders' teachings in the Elders Lodge, and lots of helpful information online. The second one, virtual workshops will begin at 10:30 Pacific time. If you haven't registered online yet, you still can. You have a few minutes on the event website in workshops. Once the workshops are complete, we encourage you to join us at 12 p.m. Pacific time for the live stream of the Walk to End Violence and keynote speeches taking place at the BC Legislature building. Reciprocal Consulting is an Indigenous-led research and evaluation team who has worked with Moose Hide Campaign for a number of years and are excited to have them today to hear your reflections on the gathering. For folks joining virtually, we are emailing you a QR code to access the Zoom rooms for a focus group. This will be open from 1 to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. There's more. We also encourage you to come back and join us at 5:15 Pacific Time for a fast-breaking ceremony and an opportunity to hear from the 4 witnesses that were here this morning. And last, please give your feedback. Moose Hide Campaign depends on your feedback to know if this was a meaningful experience for you. So, and if you do this, you can choose to be entered into a draw for a $500 cash gift card. How does that work? Cash gift card. We'll talk about that. So thank you for the participants online for joining us. We are grateful for your commitment to ending violence and building reconciliation through your participation today. And thank you, everybody, for all your patience. Before we take a break, I'm going to let you know it's a quick bathroom break. Get some fresh air quickly, and then we're going to come back, and you see the circles that are in the back over there? There's a bunch of chairs. Once you come back from your quick break, I'll give you the instructions over there. Quick break. So now you have a quick break. Enjoy it. All my relations.